In the final months of the Second World War, Nazi Germany was collapsing. Allied armies were advancing from the west, while Soviet forces moved toward Berlin from the east. But behind the military struggle, another race had already begun. Germany had spent years developing advanced weapons, aircraft, chemical processes, medical research, and guided missiles. Its V-2 rocket had become the world's first long-range guided ballistic missile, striking cities in Britain and continental Europe at speeds that made interception nearly impossible. Although the weapon did not change the outcome of the war, it demonstrated technology far ahead of anything then deployed by the Allies. American planners understood that the war's end would not eliminate competition between great powers. Relations with the Soviet Union were already deteriorating, and both sides wanted German expertise before the other could obtain it. Special Allied teams entered factories, laboratories, universities, and military installations. They searched for documents, prototypes, machinery, and the people who had designed them. American forces recovered V-2 components from sites that were expected to fall inside the Soviet occupation zone, and transported large quantities of material westward before the post-war boundaries fully took effect. The objective was not simply to study defeated Germany. It was to transfer its technical knowledge into American hands. An early American program was known as Project Overcast. Its initial purpose was to bring selected German specialists to the United States, temporarily, for military research. The effort later expanded and became known as Project Paperclip. The name would eventually describe one of the most controversial recruitment programs of the post-war era. An operation that brought German scientists, engineers, and technicians into the United States while raising difficult questions about national security, justice, and the price of technological advantage.
If we don't get these Nazi scientists, surely the Soviets will.
Was there much debate at the time about the ethics of it?
Absolutely, there was a debate, and I think that's what makes the narrative so compelling, because you have some people, including high-ranking generals at the Pentagon, who are loath to work with Hitler's former scientists. And you have others who say, this must be done, and it will be done.
Among the most valuable German specialists were the engineers who had worked at Peenemünde, the military research center where the V-2 rocket was developed. Their best-known leader was Wernher von Braun, an ambitious engineer who had long been interested in space travel, but developed rockets for the German military under the Nazi regime. Near the war's end, von Braun and members of his team moved south, carrying technical documents and attempting to surrender to American rather than Soviet forces. The United States took custody of the group, along with captured V-2 components and records. An initial team of roughly 125 specialists was sent to America and assigned to the United States Army. At Fort Bliss, Texas, and the White Sands Proving Ground in New Mexico, they helped assemble, test, and launch captured V-2 rockets. At first, many arrived under restricted military contracts rather than as ordinary immigrants. Their movement could be controlled, and their work remained connected to national defense. Over time, some received permanent residence and American citizenship, allowing them to build long careers inside military agencies, private industry, universities, and later, NASA.
And this photograph was certainly kept hidden for a rather long time. Arthur Rudolph, George Rickey, and Dornberger, those are all their paperclip photographs. Part of what I write about in the book is how the U.S. military was complicit. And this is a great moral conundrum, because we were complicit in needing these scientists to be put forth as the good Germans.
But paperclip extended far beyond rocketry. The United States recruited specialists in aeronautics, medicine, chemistry, electronics, weapons development, and other technical fields. National Archives records contain personnel files on more than 1,500 German and other foreign scientists, technicians, and engineers brought to the country through paperclip and related programs. For American officials, the argument was practical. These specialists possessed years of knowledge that could not be recreated quickly. If the United States rejected them, the Soviet Union might recruit them instead. The Soviets were conducting their own technical exploitation campaign, obtaining German factories, equipment, documents, and personnel. In October 1946, Soviet authorities carried out a large forced transfer of German specialists and their families to the Soviet Union. The message was clear. Technical knowledge had become a strategic prize. Britain, France, and other Allied powers also sought German specialists and technical records. The post-war scramble was international, but the American and Soviet programs became the most consequential because they fed directly into the military competition that defined the following decades. German experts were no longer viewed only as citizens of a defeated enemy state. They were becoming assets in a competition over missiles, aircraft, intelligence, and eventually space exploration. The central controversy surrounding Paperclip was not whether German specialists had useful knowledge. It was how the United States evaluated what they had done under the Nazi government. President Harry Truman formally authorized the expanded program in September 1946. His policy was intended to exclude active supporters of Nazism and individuals connected to war crimes. Nominal membership in Nazi organizations did not automatically disqualify a candidate, but officials were supposed to examine each person's political history. A joint intelligence objectives agency coordinated much of the screening and recruitment. Candidate files passed through military, intelligence, State Department, and Justice Department channels. On paper, this procedure was meant to balance scientific value against security risks and moral responsibility. In practice, those standards collided with military priorities. Many specialists had been members of the Nazi Party or affiliated organizations. Werner von Braun had held membership in the Nazi Party and the SS. Other candidates had worked in institutions tied directly to Germany's war economy. American officials feared that strict denazification would remove some of the most valuable recruits. Investigations and declassified records later showed that in certain cases, damaging information was minimized, reinterpreted, or removed from personnel files so specialists could be approved. The ethical problem was especially severe in the rocket program. After Allied bombing damaged the Peenemünde facilities, V-2 production was transferred underground to the Mittelwerk complex near the Mittelbau-Dora concentration camp. Prisoners were forced to work in brutal conditions, living underground amid dust, disease, hunger, exhaustion, and violence. Thousands died through forced labor, executions, illness, and deliberate neglect. Prisoners accused of sabotage were publicly hanged, while others were transported away when they became too weak to work. Not every paperclip recruit had the same level of responsibility or knowledge. Their records differed, and historians continue to distinguish between direct participation, institutional involvement, political membership, and later claims of ignorance. But the broader fact remained. The United States was recruiting technical experts from a criminal dictatorship, while survivors were still recovering, and war crimes trials were still taking place. Once inside the United States, paperclip specialists became part of military and scientific programs that expanded rapidly during the Cold War. The rocket team first worked with captured V-2 technology. In 1950, von Braun and many of his colleagues moved to Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama. There, they helped develop the Redstone and Jupiter missile systems. Their work contributed to the Jupiter C rocket that launched Explorer 1, the first successful American satellite in 1958. When NASA was formed, members of the Huntsville team entered the civilian space program. Von Braun became the first director of NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center and a leading figure in the development of the Saturn launch vehicles used by the Apollo program. This same expertise served two connected purposes. Rockets could launch scientific instruments and astronauts into space, but they could also carry nuclear warheads across long distances. The technology celebrated during the space race had developed partly from the military competition of the Second World War and the early Cold War. This connection produced the most familiar version of paperclip's history. German rocket engineers helped the United States reach the moon. That statement is true, but incomplete. The American space program depended on a much larger network of American engineers, universities, contractors, military institutions, test facilities, and public funding. Paperclip specialists provided important knowledge, but they did not create the program alone. Other recruits worked in aviation, high-altitude research, chemical engineering, and military medicine. Some contributed valuable expertise. Others became controversial because of their previous affiliations, or because research conducted under Nazi rule had involved abuse, coercion, or human experimentation. Paperclip therefore existed at the intersection of scientific progress and moral compromise. It helped accelerate programs that strengthened American military power and supported later achievements in space. At the same time, it allowed some individuals connected to the Nazi system to rebuild respected careers in the United States. The operation's defenders viewed this as an unpleasant necessity during an emerging confrontation with the Soviet Union. Its critics saw it as a decision to place strategic usefulness above accountability. For years, the full scale of Paperclip remained poorly understood by the American public. The program was classified, and official biographies often emphasized the recruits' scientific accomplishments, while giving limited attention to their wartime records. The image of the brilliant German scientist helping America defeat communism and explore space became easier to present than the complicated history behind that journey. Over time, journalists, historians, government investigators, survivors, and declassified records revealed more. National Archives collections eventually opened personnel dossiers and intelligence material that allowed researchers to compare public reputations with wartime documentation. One major case involved Arthur Rudolph, a former V-2 production manager who later became an important figure in the Saturn V program. Decades after the war, the United States Justice Department investigated his connection to forced labor at Mittelwerk. In 1984, Rudolph agreed to leave the United States and renounce his American citizenship, rather than face legal proceedings seeking to revoke it. His case demonstrated how long the unresolved questions of Paperclip remained alive. The operation also exposed a recurring feature of Cold War policy. American officials often believed they faced a choice between moral consistency and strategic survival. In that environment, former enemies could become allies, intelligence sources, or scientific partners if they were considered useful against the Soviet Union. Paperclip was not simply a rescue of scientists, and it was not simply a conspiracy to protect Nazis. It was a government program shaped by military urgency, bureaucratic secrecy, technological ambition, and fear of a rival superpower. Its achievements were real. German specialists contributed to missile development, aeronautics, and the space program. But the moral costs were also real. Backgrounds were softened, victims were pushed out of the public story, and accountability was sometimes delayed or avoided. Operation Paperclip remains significant because it forces a difficult question. When national security and justice appear to conflict, how far should a democracy go to obtain an advantage?